All right.
What's up, everyone? That's our theme
What's
song.
going on,
That's our theme.
everybody?
What's up, y'all?
All right. All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Clair and Romero Show. This is episode 4. We're going to be talking about Beasts of the Southern Wild. And before we do that, we would like to introduce ourselves. This is Dominic St. Clair,
And I'm Eduardo Romero.
and we are going to do our top 3. Um, it's your turn, right, Eduardo?
Yeah. So top 3 opening sequences could be first act. It could be the first scene, first act, whatever.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm just opening up another page here. Yeah, and actually, Dom, I think for this one, you should go ahead and go first.
Okay. Yeah, we can switch it up. I'll go first. Uh, wait, hold on. Okay, I got it. I just pulled it up. Okay, so my first opening sequence pick has to be the first Jaws. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because when it comes to like suspense and um, how do you say it, fear or something like that.
Yeah.
If you're a fear of water, like that opening sequence where they're under the water with the camera and they're just like freaking trying their best to, or not trying their best, like they're actually really good at doing what they do when they do that. It's supposed to be the shark, right? The POV.
Yeah.
So the POV of the shark going through the water and like the music, and it's a good soundtrack along with it. And it's really cool. And then of course the girl, she goes in the water and the first shark attack happens, and that one was pretty intense because it's like she's like freaking out and like you don't know like you probably know it's like a shark attack, but like the way it's going on, it's like you don't see the shark at all, and so you're
Right.
like, what is going on, what is this? And so yeah, that's my number one, is the Jaws opening.
No, yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah, that's definitely an iconic one. Really kind of like I think a good opening act should be done in such a way that it primes the audience for what the rest of the movie is going to be, not just introduce you to the story. I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to do that, but also if you can do something with the way you shoot it and edit it that sort of informs the rest of the movie, I think that's really cool. And Jaws is really good because it's famous for you barely ever see the shark. You only see it from its point of view. You see glimpses and all that, and that builds up a lot more suspense than just seeing it all the time or anything like that. So yeah, good pick, Dom.
Yeah. All right, let's go with yours.
Yeah, so my first, I'll say my number 3 pick is Brian De Palma's Blowout. I am picking this one specifically for you. We're gonna talk about this movie one of these days because this is
Oh
an
yeah.
amazing movie. I think I might have told you about it anyways. So have you seen it
uh,
before?
yes, I have. The
You
first time I
have.
seen it was last year. So what happened was is that I
Same,
was
same.
going through, I watched what's Dress to Kill,
Uh-huh.
and then because I already knew that movie, but then after that it recommended me to Blowout right after
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
And it was with John Travolta. I saw his faces on the cover, and I was like, "Oh, this must be a horror movie, right?"
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
And
go watch it.
if you were to only see the opening scene, Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Oh, you know what?
Well,
Since you've already seen it, I'll let you at least go as into depth to it as you want without spoiling anything.
uh, well, yeah, just overall, like, I loved it. First time seeing it, I was surprised, and I was like, "This is so underrated. Why is nobody talking about this?" And that's
Yeah. Well, let's not
my
talk about the whole movie. I was just talking about the opening sequence. You know what? I'll just
yeah,
go ahead
just
and go.
oh yeah, the opening.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just go ahead and go first. I love the opening scene because it's a complete misdirect and also really heavy foreshadowing. Though, as you know, the movie is a political thriller. But the opening, how we enter this story is through a slasher movie. And actually a really good looking slasher movie too that was done with a lot of style and a lot of creativity. Um, and all I'll say is that the movie, yeah, it's a very amazing opening sequence because, like I said, it's a misdirect. You're getting set up for a slasher movie, and then something happens that actually leads to the real story in real life because John Travolta plays the guy who's doing the sound for the slasher movie we're watching in the opening. And it's a really creative way into the movie. It's a really entertaining and a misdirect of an opening. And like you said, dude, it's just like a great way to set you up and get you like into the story. And if nothing else, everyone should see Blowout for that, you know?
Yeah, it's well, yeah, talking about the opening, yeah, that's a good opening. Misleading, misdirecting, in a good way.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie is just great, but the opening is cool too. Like I thought it was gonna be a slasher movie, or at least like a different type of slasher movie. Like I think the way I saw it in the opening, it's like, okay, how does John Travolta fit in? Because maybe
Yeah.
the killer is like he kills all these people or he killed somebody and then John Travolta's like a cop or something, right? And
Hmm.
he goes after this killer, but it's misleading. It's not really the case.
Yeah. Yeah. um, so yeah, that was my number three pick. Dom, was your number two?
My number two is the it was tough. It was a tough decision because I like both of these openings.
Hmm.
I pick one. Um just the opening of I forgot the title of the movie. It's what was it called? It was like in the 90s.
Hmm.
It was like 1990. Nightbreed.
Which one?
Nightbreed by Clive
Oh,
Barker.
I've never seen that one.
So in Nightbreed, that opening, so what they do is that they introduce you to the monsters of the movie, but like they're running away
Hmm.
and they're going into their home. And it's a very like good visual, like stunning performance by the monsters because it's like the makeup's really cool, but also just the fear that they go through running away is pretty like wow, like you actually feel for them. And
Yeah.
then cuts to this guy, and supposedly he has a dream about the monsters running away,
Okay.
and he wakes up freaked out, and then a girlfriend comes in and sits on top of him and stuff like
And
that.
then the movie starts proper.
Yeah, and
Okay,
that
that's cool. So it's kind of like a dream sequence then.
yeah, dream sequence, but it's a cool dream sequence. It's a interesting one. It grabs your attention
Yeah.
just in that first shot.
Yeah. No, that's you definitely want to do that in your opening moments of the movie.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah,
Yeah. Is that your number two?
yeah. So my number two, yeah, and your number two.
Okay, yeah. My number two is a Clockwork Orange. The entire first act, the whole fucking thing, from the minute we cut, well, from the fucking opening credits. That music is iconic, and all the way until we arrive at Act Two, where, well, I don't want to spoil anything. But what I love about the A Clockwork Orange's opening sequence, especially, is that it's sort of like a precursor to like the MTV style editing that we saw in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was very like stylistic but frantic and creative. You have that time lapse group sex sequence and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really it's a really frenetic, energetic way that really kind of like gets you into a very like adolescent mindset. It's a very youthful opening sequence because you're kind of following these crazy futuristic teenagers in a post-war fascist country, as they just go buck wild. And the way that it's shot, despite how horror, which another thing this movie is infamous for, is that much like Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange is a horrible person, a detestable human being who does awful things. He's incredibly likable as a person. He's charismatic, and he has an appreciation for arts and stuff like that. Just like the character of Alex DeLarge, the opening scene shows some horrific, terrible things, really bad shit. But the way that it's shot and cut together, the style of it makes it really appealing and fun. And kind of like I said, like a brilliant opening sequence not only introduces you to the world, but also tells you something about how the movie is sort of working within the filmmaker logic in the visual audio sense. I'm sorry, I'm trying to put this together. I think we're gonna get it right on the first pick, but that's my second one. What's your number one pick, Dom?
So my number one, it's also difficult because there was two that I came up with, and it was either um, Friday 13 reboot opening or the opening to River's Edge with Keanu Reeves and Christopher Glover. And I
Okay.
gotta say, I'm picking Friday 13 reboot
Okay.
because that opening, man, it's long. Like it's not just an opening that's like five like a minute. It takes like 10 minutes. It took
Okay.
10 minutes to get to the actual Act One,
The
and it's
remake.
the remake.
All right.
So the Michael Bay produced it. So
Right, right, for
right?
the Platinum Dunes era.
Yeah, yeah. And it starts off like a Friday 13th movie. There's a bunch of campers that come in, and you thought like those were the main characters, but then they all get killed off, and then it's like misdirection again, right?
Yeah.
It misdirects you to it's like, oh, these are main characters, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they get all get killed off, and then you get introduced to these other characters. Yeah,
See, that's crazy to me that that much effort went into the remake of a horror movie. Like, do you think that's an underrated movie?
it is underrated because what they try to do is they try to make Jason human again.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to do like the same old like Jason from Freddy versus Jason or from Jason Takes Manhattan where he's like he has like supernatural abilities, he can't be
Mm-hmm.
killed. Whereas in this film he's more human, so he's doing more human things. Like he has an underground like tunnel. That's not a spoiler, it's actually a trailer.
Okay.
And and he go and that's how they explain how Jason gets from point A to point B so fast because
Mm-hmm.
his victims will run and then all of a sudden Jason pops up. The reason why he pops up is because he's going through the tunnels really fast, and that's how that explains his all of a sudden. Wait, how do you get from there to there?
That's pretty
Whereas
wacky. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds really
yeah,
entertaining.
yeah, but I thought it was pretty cool. Like I didn't mind that concept. And but yeah, that opening's it's a good opening. I think it's one of the best openings in the franchise.
Okay.
Um,
Bold
and
statement.
better than the original. I gotta
Okay.
say, dare to say.
Hey, sometimes that happens, I know before I get into my number one pick, like I said last week, we could probably play a drinking game every time we mention a Jurassic Park movie. But I did originally have the opening of Fallen Kingdom on the list, but I took it out for blowout. But yeah, that happens sometimes, man. Sometimes a sequel will come along and a fresh director or writer voice will just kind of come up with something more creative than what anybody else has done.
Yeah, I'll take a drink.
Cheers. Ugh.
We should count it. Like
Count
every
what?
time we say Jurassic Park, we should count it. We'll take a drink and then we'll say, okay, this is number two of the drink.
Yeah,
Or number 30.
yeah, dude, that'd be fun. Like I said, you'd be drunk by the end of the top three, nine times out of 10.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
Yeah,
uh yeah, the opening, yeah, I agree. The opening's really cool. The whole I like the misleading in that shot where like all the trees are like branches are moving and you think it's a
yeah.
T but like it's like a machine or something. Wait, was it a helicopter?
It was a
Or was it
helicopter.
a
Yeah.
machine? Okay, it was a
Well, it was
helicopter.
like a submarine under the water. and then a helicopter up in the sky.
Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it was awesome, man. I think, well, yeah, one of the best in the franchise, honestly.
I mean, as a horror fan, I'm pretty sure you appreciate the buildup of tension of excuse me, of seeing the T-Rex every time the lightning strikes, and like
Yeah,
seeing it disappear in the darkness. That to me is that's why I wish J.A. Bayona did Jurassic World as well. You know, because like that style from the beginning of the franchise could have really elevated it to something better than what it is right now, which is not bad by any means. But I mean, they're not exactly the original either. You know,
yeah, it's like you think the T-Rex is gonna get him, but then all of a sudden the freaking giant sea water, I forgot that what that dinosaur was called.
the Mosasaurus.
Yeah, the Mosasaurus. It just
Yeah,
pops up and just eats that guy. He doesn't go for the helicopter. He goes for that guy specifically.
yeah,
He escaped the T-Rex, so he's like, "Oh, not today!" And
yeah.
then grabs him and eats him.
That T Rex and that Mosasaurus must have like some sort of fucking like rivalry going on. Because first the Indominus Rex, and now the fucking human being on the helicopter. Like
Yeah,
these two need to go head for head for like a fucking hot dog or something like that in the third one. You know?
yeah. It's like it has to stay in the water. Can't
Yeah.
fight it in the. It can't like that dinosaur can't fight in the land.
T Rex
T-Rex,
can swim.
yeah. T-Rex can swim, but like the Mosasaurus is faster in the
That's
water.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. But you know, one of the famous parts of the Jurassic Park book, the first one, is a sequence where Alan Grant is running away from a T-Rex on a river, and at some point it is swimming after it, like in the deeper part. So yeah, you know, it's capable of doing it. So who knows?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Yep, I agree. That opening's really cool, and
But
that's
that's not but that's not my actual number one though. Though I'm glad we brought it up right away.
oh,
Uh,
okay. I thought that was no.
my number one is Beast of the Southern Wild.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and just get started on that. Just so we can get started on the conversation.
Yep.
What makes the opening of Beast of the Southern Wild so amazing to me, so special? And you know, this is a movie that I've had to buy about 5 times on Blu-ray because every time I let someone borrow it or I watch it at their house, they keep it. You know, it's a movie that really has something special to it. And I think that starts minute one because the very first shot of the movie is an exterior wide shot of Hush Puppy's home, which is this
Yeah, yeah,
trailer park
with the
on top
boar
of a
and the.
tree.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then the light turns on, the light in her room. That's Cinderella. You know, that's Snow White. Every cinematic every film, every fairy tale has a princess in a castle that has a princess in a castle has that shot, the wide shot, and then the light turns on, and that's the princess's home. And here we go, you know. And this movie is a fairy tale, and I'll go more into detail with that as we go on. But this movie is a fairy tale, and it tells you
Yeah.
right from the very beginning. And what I really love about it too is that it really does feel like you're being told a story. It's all done in voiceover, and it's all of like the best, like the most amazing shots that they have probably of that entire sequence. And it builds this world of the bathtub, which is in the exterior of New Orleans post Katrina, and it's like this little slice of land that didn't get flooded that Hush Puppy, our protagonist, and her father Wink are the sort of the king and princess of. And to sort of further solidify my point here that this is a fairy tale, what does every Disney princess have in common, Dom?
They all have. But they missed something. Like they all missed something.
They all miss something. None of them have moms.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's right. Because she didn't have a mom, and she
Hush
always
Puppy.
calls her mom like
Yep.
every time, like in random in the wild or whatever, like wherever they are,
Exactly.
even though she's not
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm leading to, and to sort of like get into the proper conversation, is that this movie kind of like it surprised me. You said that you fell asleep watching it last week because, like, to me, I always notice that like everybody I watch this movie with gets way caught up in the beginning because like the music, the editing, the imagery, the rhythm it creates, and then that final shot of Hush Puppy running in a field of exploding fireworks, bringing her sparklers together at the camera, like with
Yeah,
the music soaring, it's just fucking magic. And then like
it
just
is.
slam cut, Beast of the Southern Wild, and then our movie starts. And now that you've actually seen it, what did you think of Beast of the Southern Wild?
I actually liked it. It was I actually take back falling asleep on this movie
Uh huh.
because like you said, the opening is um it's good. What I mean by that is that it keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the fireworks, the, you know, all the, you know, the lady she's pouring like the cockroaches and everything, like even
Yeah.
though that's something that's weird and you're like, ooh, what the, it's still like interesting, you know, it still
Right.
engages you. The reason why I fell asleep is because of the whole like situation where they're all meeting each other
Uh huh.
for the, like, not for the first time, but everyone's like, you're meeting little Joe, you're meeting the other characters,
Yeah.
and you're introduced to them, and I was like, and I
Yeah.
fell
Yeah.
asleep. Um,
Well, I can see
I
that
take it
it
back
is.
though. It's a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad you gave her another shot and enjoyed it. Yeah, this movie it is it's this is something that we could both talk about, I think, as amateur filmmakers, because the way this movie was shot was not the traditional sit down, write a script, get your do your blocking, get your lighting right. None of that. This is very much done. It was shot on 16 millimeter, by the way. This movie is very much
Interesting.
done handheld, ground level. I don't think there's a single lockdown shot in the entire movie. Yeah, the movie, the camera is always kind of jiggling around, and it makes everything seem so much realer. Because like you said, like you've used some weird image. This is like a weird world that we're brought into, the bathtub.
It is. It's especially the relationships between the main character and her father. That's a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
strange relationship. Not like, it's not strange like it's like incest or anything.
bad.
It's more
No, no,
like,
no. Yeah,
no. It's nothing like that. It's strange in a way where it's like the the father and the father and the daughter, they're like challenging each other. You know,
yeah,
they're not like, the father's not nice and she's trying to be nice, but then the father, the reason why he's not nice is, so the way I see it is that he's trying to train her daughter to become tough in a
yes,
world that is very tough. You know, it's the
yeah,
real world. You're gonna go, once you become older, you're gonna be an adult, you're gonna deal with shit. You know, and
right,
that's I think that's why he's doing what he's doing, because
definitely.
he's trying to toughen her up. He
Yeah,
always says, "Don't cry, don't cry." So I was like, that's the way
yeah,
I.
yeah, yeah, exactly. In fact, speaking of crying, as you can remember, the reason I specifically chose this movie is because everyone I know who has seen this movie cries. Almost everyone. I think like a few exceptions. Dom, did this movie make you cry at the end?
No,
No. Did I at least get you close? Did you feel the lump in your throat?
I mean, I'm not saying that it was sad. It was sad. Like I was like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
I had that moment. I was like, oh, that sucks. But
Yeah.
tear coming out of my eye, no. I wasn't
No.
crying. I was.
Dang.
I, it was.
That
It
I'm
was.
not.
It was. It was. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, let's not give away the ending. But yeah, what were you saying?
No, I'm just saying it was like, yeah, it was sad. Like I agree, it's sad. Like it's a moment that's serious in a way where it's like, oh, like that sucks, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, you know, it is what it is. And the way I say it is what it is. That's how it was gonna end. And yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
didn't
Let's
shed
not.
a tear. I wasn't balling. So
Yeah. Well, I wasn't necessarily balling either. I think I've seen this movie about a dozen times, but I still get worked up at the end. I'm not gonna lie. The first few times I saw this movie, I was an emotional wreck by the end, though, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
And we'll get to the ending eventually. I just wanted to really kind of get that right off the bat. But first, yeah, let's kind of talk a little bit about how this movie was made, because I like to get your opinion on this. Like I was saying earlier, this movie was not kind of made in the traditional, um, get your script down, get everybody to memorize their lines. None of that. This was done very much like in that Terrence Malick free form, find the movie in the edit kind of way. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like that sort of style of filmmaking.
Yeah, there's a guy, I think his name Dustin Ferguson. He does that. I know. Oh, I don't know him personally, but I know his work.
Uh huh.
And he does that. He does the
Okay.
exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Terrence Malick is probably the most famous director of that style, because yeah, that's all his movies are. It's just amazing imagery and people whispering really deep and important things. And
Mhm.
I mean, it works. It works. Music and editing together are magic, and this movie is a great example of that, because the way this movie was made is essentially they shot a bunch of kind of mood shots. They had a rough idea of the story and some of the key stuff they wanted in there, so they shot those sequences, but for the most part it was a lot more chaotic, a lot more in the moment, you know and it's one of those movies that's found in the edit, which is, they find the structure. They shoot first, and then they find the meaning for that shot later. I think is what I'm trying to say succinctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
It's
something?
like a puzzle piece that they're putting together.
Yeah,
It's like that. Whereas like traditional filmmaking is like everyone knows what to do. Like
yeah,
they understand what's going on. Whereas stuff like filmmaking like that, that's just a like puzzle piecing together what you're gonna do for the scene and like how it's gonna end up. From like I said, traditional filmmaking style. So
yeah.
what he does is different.
Is that something that you think you could do?
Maybe. I can probably do that, but it'll just. Of course, right now, like I said, I'm taking a break
Yeah, you're
from
taking
filmmaking.
a
But
break.
later
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
yeah,
But you never done
but
that
later,
style before, right?
yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
did that stuff before. We did that together, right? Didn't we do that together?
On
Um,
well, yeah, I guess kind of sort of on
because there's certain.
on
No, I was gonna say that there was a part. I wanted. Well, it just came out of nowhere, right? Remember that guy with the machete
yeah.
with the dog? So
Mhm.
when he came over, he was talking about how that guy died in that bathroom, and
Mhm.
I didn't know that. And he was talking, and then he pulled us aside and was like, "Hey man, he has a machete. It's
Yeah.
probably dangerous." And then
Yeah,
what was going
let me.
through my mind, like what was
Oh, sorry.
going
Go ahead. Go
on?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was going on? I was thinking like, wait, so this character, what's his name? Renee. He has a
Uh huh.
knife, right?
Yeah.
He has a small knife. So after he kills my character, he goes outside. I was thinking maybe he bumps into this guy and he has a machete, and you think he's gonna kill Renee or he's trying to attack Renee, and then he flips the machete around and hands it to him, and he goes, and he says, what you're doing is great. I like he said along the lines like that. He's like, I support you. Here, take this. This one's
Yeah.
bigger. You can reach people that way instead of up close. Something like
No,
that, right? And that's what I was gonna say, but then I was like, yeah, maybe that's not a good idea, maybe because he's probably like
yeah,
not
let
good.
me go
But
ahead and set this up. Yeah. We were shooting a movie, Water Under the Bridge, Tables Turned. I don't know which one you chose at the end. But we were
water.
shooting Water Under the Bridge. Yeah. So we made this movie called Water Under the Bridge, and we were shooting in this public restroom, and there were a bunch of homeless people at the park, and this shirtless guy with a goddamn machete He just comes up to fucking Dom and he's just like having a casual conversation with Dom while me and the other guys are packing up to go to the next location. I'm glad you didn't go through with that, man. That's fucking wild. I would have never thought of that, dude.
Yeah, because I was like talking. He came up to me, right,
Yeah.
and he knew that we were putting blood everywhere, right? So
Hmm.
he was
Yeah.
in there, and then he came back out. He
He's like,
came
oh,
to
I
me
can put my
afterwards.
blood on there.
Yeah, and so he came to me and he was talking about how like, this guy he died in there and there was blood all over the place. And I was like, there's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way. I did not know that. I didn't know that happened. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
was like, that is so crazy. And then it was casual. And then
A casual
when I
conversation with a shirtless homeless guy with a machete. I think that should not be. That should be stress here.
dude, we should have
Fucking crazy,
recorded it,
man.
man. It was so funny. And I was like so
I
bizarre
wasn't
too. It
gonna
was
get
so
close to
bizarre.
that guy. I was trying to get you away from him, dude. Fuck that, man.
Man,
You don't even got to be homeless. If you just got a machete and you're walking towards me, I'm out, dude. You win. You're this is your
yeah.
territory. I'm gonna go home and play PlayStation, dude.
Yeah, dude, I was because yeah, like you said, we were having casual conversation and it's machete out, and I'm like, I don't know what it was that kept me talking to him and not running away. I don't know what it was. I just found it bizarre and fascinating that
Yeah,
I saw a guy with a machete, shirtless in a park. So I was like, okay then,
I
we'll
gotta
just
know what's
talk.
going on. I gotta know his story. That's
Yeah,
funny, man.
no, he was just he was talking about that, and I was like, oh shoot, I didn't know that. And he was talking about how like I think people were coming around bothering him or something. I don't know. We were just
Yeah,
talking something. I don't know. It just flew past my mind. And he had the machete. I wasn't phased at all. I was just like, he was casually talking to me. So I thought, like, oh, this guy's not, aggressive towards me, just talking casually and being nice. And I was
yeah,
like, yeah, there's no way he's going to chop my head off with that. Or
yeah. At
chop
least
my
I mean, it
limbs.
was daytime.
Yeah, it's daytime. And, you never know, it could happen.
Exactly. You never know. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So we were talking about Beast of the Southern Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, we did do it that way, but you were the director in that case. Um,
Mhm.
I personally I'm really old school with the way I do things, man. Like I like to have like shots, at least not if it's not listed, like I like to have it like edited in my brain so I know what shots I need and stuff like that. I'm not a dictatorial director in any way. Like I'm really collaborative, but I know what I want. You know what I mean? And I'm
Mhm.
happy to deviate from that as long as we get to what the best version of that, and yeah, that style of filmmaking, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could do it too, but it's just not natural to my sensibilities, because to me, really good storytelling is about seeing the whole picture and seeing all the little pieces and then knowing how they all fit together. And to me, you can't do that without a script. And I'm not saying you got to stick 100% to everything in the script by any means, but the script at least tells you what you're going for.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I talked to somebody. He's like, it's important you have a script before you shoot.
Yeah.
Like he told me, like once you get the script done, then you can shoot something because you can't shoot something without a script.
Well,
Because there's a direction. But some people don't. Some people they have a story, right, and then they just pinpoint where the story is going, and then they make stuff up in between, like
right.
lines, shots and stuff, like they all make it up on the spot on the set, but they know exactly where the end goal is. Like this is where we're gonna get to. We're just gonna make something up in between. So
In the words of Stanley Kubrick, all the movie is seven important scenes and a bunch of scenes connecting them. So get seven
yeah,
important scenes, your act one, your 3 points in act two, and then your finale, and just make everything fit together. It's that easy.
Mhm.
But yeah, getting back to Beast of the Southern Wild. What's really amazing to me about this movie is that it was kind of done so chaotic, not chaotically, but so like not planned out 100%, so not put together and conceptualized beforehand. It was so on the spot that it's really crazy to me how tightly it feels like it's tightly written and like really well structured. I mean, it is really well structured. You don't have to do that in the script, but um how well everything fits together thematically, all the little details, all the imagery, like it's crazy that this just sort of formed itself through artistic vibes, essentially, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely artistic. It has its own like style to it and old feel. It definitely feels. I thought it was set in like some part in like Africa or something. I thought it was set like somewhere like not in America, like somewhere
Hmm.
else, like yeah, like
Like
somewhere
South
like
Africa or
maybe
something.
yeah. And so because sorry, the way the set is, the way the environment is very like
Hmm.
it felt like it was somewhere else, you know. And these people happen to just come there to come together and form it like a society or something like that. Because
Yeah,
you know they were
very.
talking about eating bugs, like you know when shit hits the fan, come eat those bugs because you're probably not gonna have those regular food that you eat, you know, something that's good for
Yeah,
you or not good for you, but like you know, just regular food that humans eat, you know.
yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
get she's talking about how like the cavemen eat bugs and stuff, and so and she was like, you know, if the caveman didn't complain, you shouldn't complain, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Like, I think that's very intentional though. Like I said, this movie, it's a fairy tale, and I think definitely it does feel otherworldly. Even though, yeah, it takes place just outside of post Katrina New Orleans. Um, I do want to add to that, but in order to add to that conversation, we're gonna have to go into actual spoilers here. So is there anything else you want to say, like spoiler free, before we go into the spoilers?
um I think I like the characters. Some of them are like, you know, some of them are wild, you know, Beasts of the Southern Wild. I guess
Yeah,
I don't know, but the characters they
the
were
side
engaging.
characters, you mean? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The side characters they were engaging, like Lil Joe and like the other dude, and then you know they were like there, and you can tell they
Walrus.
cared about yeah the
Yeah,
little man. They cared about the girl and the father too.
yeah,
Even though the father seems to be like aggressive towards the girl and wants to like have like he always calls her a man, you know.
yeah,
I guess it's he says that probably because he wants her to be like a man, like be strong and be confident and be stuff like that,
yeah.
and never not to cry and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, so yeah, yeah, that's all I gotta say. Spoiler free. So
Well,
let's jump into
actually, no.
spoilers.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I would like to get into that a little bit more before we get
Mhm.
into spoilers. Because you're right. Yeah, this is a fairy tale, and like all fairy tales, it has memorable side characters. Little Joe, Walrus, the old guy, who
Oh yeah, yeah.
like Walrus is it has like one of the greatest introductions of all time, where they're looking for like survivors or whatever, and he
Mhm.
just like walks out of the door drunk and just falls into the water. It was like real slapsticky and shit. But yeah, no, you're right. This movie is full of really rich and interesting characters. There's the teacher, Miss Bathsheba, with her like witchcraft and her like lo-fi witchcraft, and Hush Puppy's little friends, who are all, by the way, I think they're all orphans. All the I think none of the girls we ever see their parents. You know,
Yeah,
so
I think they're orphans. Yeah, because they all like come together. Like they'll like you know run in the fields or whatever.
mhm,
Some scenes they'll do that. And like they see in yeah, whenever you see them, they're not with their parents or they're not with a guardian or something. You know, it's
right,
just it's
and they
like
get
them
into
by
some
themselves.
and they get into some fucked up shit. Well, nothing too fucked up, but
Yeah.
we'll say that for spoilers. But
Uh,
yeah, I definitely want to talk a little bit. And I think this should be a better lead in into the spoilers, but we can't talk about it without spoiling anything for a little bit. The main relationship here, the heart of this movie is the father and son. Hush Puppy are the little girl that we follow, our protagonist, and her dad, Wink. And gosh, I gotta make sure I write this down. Hold on, let me write this down so I could talk about this in spoilers really quick.
okay.
Jeez. Okay, so yeah, one thing about like I actually agree with what you said. I watched this with Lindsay last week, and that was one of the first things she said about the movie too. Is that like you said, Wink calls Hush Puppy man a lot, you know, and like you said, I think Wink's whole character is that he is this like scary fucking guy, this like aggressive,
Mhm.
loud, tough, and very uncompromising father and all that. And what's really interesting about Link is that even when he's like throwing shit at his daughter, even when he's like shouting in her face and all that, you never lose the sense that all this is coming from a place of love, you
Mhm.
know. Like you said, like everybody without ever saying it, everybody understands intuitively about Wink that all his seeming cruelty, all his name calling, all this shit, that like it's not because he's a bad guy or he's a cruel guy. He understands how cruel the world is, like you
Mhm.
said, and he's getting his daughter ready for the cruel world that she's going to be, that she was born into.
Mhm.
And I just think, I mean, you know, one sort of like thing that's really subtle in the background, a subtle theme of this movie is that these people are poor, very poor, borderline
Mhm.
homeless. You know, they live in
Yeah, I don't think
poverty.
there's currency in
Yeah,
their
there's no
community.
currency. Yeah, yeah, it's very egalitarian. And what's really what really speaks to me in this movie is, you know, we grew up middle class, you know, but we were like not class enough to be far away from poverty, you know, by any
Yeah.
means, either by distance or by others. um and we never went hungry or anything like that, thank God, but you know there were times where things were tight.
I
I think like a
yeah.
lot of other families, you know. And I think you know, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know, also similarly, were always right on the line between. Oh, hey, Lindsay. Let's see. It was out of love at first with how he was threatening her. I thought he was going to do it just to be an asshole. Well, okay, maybe it's not intuitive. Hi, by the way. Maybe it's not like intuitive to everybody, but yeah, like there is a striking sort of like, yeah, a meanness to Wink. And God, what was I saying before that? Yeah, and I think for people who kind of grew up with like difficult circumstances, like I think we all see a little bit of that sort of like tough atmosphere that we had to be like grown into, you know, because yeah, when you're in that situation, the world isn't nice, and the world is unforgiving. And I think, you know, a lot of parents are going through that shit with their children, and it informs that lifestyle on everyone. And I think that's part of the reasons why that's one of the reasons why this movie is so powerful. Like we're all kind of repulsed by how me, because like little Wink is a little 5 6 year old girl, and here's this like big scary motherfucker throwing shit at her, right? And you know, like yelling at her. um
I
but in that, but that's just sort of like an exaggerated sense of like the sort of like tough love that a lot of us were raised in. And I think for those people this movie is especially powerful because as we get more into spoilers, it is just kind of really an exploration how that desire for a parent to give their kids everything they need transcends class, transcends race, transcends everything, and it's universal. And I think that's why this movie works so well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little story that actually happened. I don't tell people this story a lot because I feel
Mhm.
embarrassed
Uh-huh.
talking about it, but watching this movie, reminds me of this story when I was, I think it was 18 or 19 years old.
Mhm.
So a
Yeah.
couple like years ago. I'm 22 now.
Mhm.
So I was thrown out of the house, right?
Uh-huh.
The reason why I was thrown out is because I was talking about, hey, I should be independent. I should move out and do 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 do. And then one of my guardians said, "Hey, you think you can do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm confident. I'm 18. I should kick the road.
Yeah.
Get out of here." Of course, I was stubborn, and at the time, so I was just like, you not fully educated on certain things, and not like I'm educated on certain things, but like I wasn't fully educated, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what he did was he went to the refrigerator, he grabbed a bunch of waters, he got a cooler, put the waters in there, then he made a bunch of sandwiches, put it in the cooler with ice, closed it, and then gave me $200, and then he gave all that to me in once, and he says, "Okay, there you go." And I was like, "What is this?" And then he's like, "Oh, you want to move out? Yeah, go ahead, go."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, I need to set it up first." And it's like, "Let's." You said you want to go out, and then he just kicked me out. He
Yeah.
like kicked me out, and
Mhm.
so I was on the street for almost a week,
Damn.
right?
Yeah.
And I literally had to live, like I went to a homeless shelter, like in some part of Atwater or Merced in that area,
Mhm.
and I was like going to college at the same time. So whenever I go to class, I smelled like I smelled really bad to the point where the professor's like, "Hey man, like
You
you need to
you got a GTFO.
yeah, yeah, you gotta double down on that, man. And so it was to me, I thought it was humiliating,
Yeah.
to be at that stage of life. But now I understand why I went through that, and now I understand more and relate to the people that are really in poverty and are living in the streets more because
Right.
of
Oh, you lived it.
what happened to them, and like whatever happened that got them there. So I learned a lesson in that week when I was
Yeah.
that age. So now I know I'm fully educated now on it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a story I don't talk about a lot because I feel embarrassed talking about it because the shit went through that
Hey,
week.
you know, it's no, it's good. It's good to it's good to open up like that, man. Yeah, I remember when I moved out of my parents' house for the first time. It was in Fresno. I went to one of those like scammy fucking private colleges.
Hmm.
So I moved there when I was about 20 years old, and the first person I lived with. And by the way, this is 2008. This is when the recession hit. This is
Hmm.
exact. This is about not. This is like a little bit before the recession hit that I moved out. It was that summer. So I started taking classes in the summer. I moved in with my first roommate, who was what was I saying? Yeah, who essentially was an army veteran and a cancer survivor. And hi, Lindsay, by the way. And
Well, I just want to say thank you
oh yeah,
for saying that because I when you're at an age, especially the age I was, I feel like you can be stubborn, you can be um just I think it's because you're young, right? Like you're still going through a little bit of change. I wasn't
yeah,
22 yet or 21 where brain fully developed, so it probably
mhm.
but it was still a good lesson to learn, and a good yeah, definitely a good perspective on it. Thank you, Lindsay, for saying that. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, what were you saying? I just want to
Yeah.
shout out Lindsay.
No, no, yeah. Hi, Lindsay. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, so basically, yeah, so this was right before the recession hit, and the first roommate I had was a veteran, and he was also a cancer survivor. And he was a really nice guy, and he was really cool to live with. We got along really well. First dude I ever got drunk with. It was hella dope. Like cause it was right before my 21st birthday, actually.
Mhm.
So I'm I'm living like I got my own room over here, and my little brother moved to Fresno too, but he was living with his friend across town. And
Mhm.
so basically one day he calls me, and he's all stressed out, and he like tells me he wants me to eat ice cream with him, and he tells me that the cancer came back, and that
Mhm.
he was gonna have to go live with his mom, and that I'm gonna have to be out by the end of the month. We're both gonna have to be out by the end of the month and shit. So yeah, so I haven't heard from him since. I hope he's all right, but he was a really nice guy, you know. But yeah, so after that, I had to move in with my little brother, and at first it was just me, my little brother, and our roommate and his friend. And then the recession hit, and we were having trouble finding jobs already before that, and nobody was, the only money I was getting money from the school. And so essentially uh it was a two-bedroom apartment, and I was already like taking out the dining room for myself, and all of a sudden we had to leave. It eventually got to seven people sharing a two-bedroom apartment because of recession and shit, and it was bad, man. It was bad, that lasted for a couple months before I found a more permanent better living solution with someone else. But yeah, like it humbles you, man. Being out in the real world humbles you. And then a few years later, and a few years ago, I lived in the Santa Cruz area. I lived in Aptos, Santa Cruz, to SoCal finally, and that was a whole that was a whole different beast right there. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough,
Yeah.
and you need to be ready to face that tough world. And yeah, and I think that's what this movie's about. But to sort of dig into that more, we're gonna have to start spoiling things. So you get to go into that, Dom?
Yeah. Let's go into it.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and go into spoilers in seven, six, five, four, three, two, one. If you haven't seen Beast of the Sun of the Wild, please go watch it. It's an amazing movie because now we're gonna start talking about spoilers. So this is what I was sort of alluding to earlier. I've seen this movie a dozen times, but this is the first time I noticed a detail that I've never seen before that really kind of changes the story a little bit in my head. Okay, so the movie takes place in the bathtub, right? And it's outside of Katrina, outside of post Katrina New Orleans, right? And early in the movie, there's a close up of the map of the area, and I noticed that the bathtub is marked on a little slice of island called the Isle of Doucette. And I've seen this movie enough to know that Wink's real name is Henry and that Hush Puppy's real name is Emma. You know what their last names are?
The
The
Where they
Doucette.
mark the map. That's the last
Yeah,
name. Yeah.
the Doucettes.
The Doucettes. Okay.
Yeah. So they're in the Isle of Doucette. It's literally their kingdom.
Oh, okay. So it's
Y-
back to the fairy tale aspect
Back
of
to the
it, I guess.
fairy
The
tale
kingdom.
thing. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's totally 100% like cohesive, and what was I going to say? It's sort of like one thing that I really kind of like thought about now that this name is that it's named after their family is that
Mhm.
I get the feeling I get the feeling that Wink, like his family owned property on Isle of Doucette. That's why it's named after them. And I think they
Mhm.
had some sort of fishing um sort of business and stuff like that. They got drowned out by Katrina. And now, by the way, Katrina happened in 2006, I think, right? Like 2000, no, maybe 2004.
Mhm.
I think I was in high school. This movie was shot in 2013. I'm not saying it takes place in 2013, but Hush Puppy is at least 5 years old, and and we know that she's only ever known the bathtub, right? And so essentially, the dad created this new like society outside of the boundaries of society, essentially, and so one thing that I kind of want to ask you now, keeping that in mind, is that why do you think he wants to bring his daughter up in the bathtub instead of the real world?
Probably because it's probably because there's I, maybe it's just the society of the world, right?
Uh-huh.
Maybe society is very maybe it's because society's cruel, but then again, it's like, well, he's trying to teach her that society is cruel, so you gotta toughen up. So I don't know, honestly. I think maybe it's cruelty, but maybe maybe it's um maybe people. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it could be people in say in the states.
Right.
Some people are rude. I don't know. What do you think though?
Yeah, well, okay, so one thing that I noticed this time around about Wink is that he doesn't start the movie off being loud and scary or anything like that.
Hmm.
If you
Yeah, I
watch
noticed
during
that.
if you watch during the opening sequences, he's really friendly. He's all smiles and he's a lot more fun, right?
Hmm.
So, okay, here's the backstory that I have now about Wink and how he relates to the story. So clearly, Wink's family had enough money to like own enough of the island to have it named after him, right? You know, but I mean, those islands didn't prop up in the last 50 years. His family has a long history on this island, generational wealth. He came from a rich family, you know? And I think what happened was he lived this privileged life, and then he had Katrina happen and it washed away everything he had, And I
Hmm.
have a theory that all the people that stay behind in the bathtub are people that used to work for his family. And again, I'm only putting this together based on the context clues. Um, and so essentially, I think what the backstory is that Wink saw that there were these survivors who maybe liked him, got along with him and stuff like that, and saw that he had this whole land to himself. And Katrina built this wall outside of that, and I think he saw that as a sort of go ahead for him to build the world as he sees it. And his world is one, like you said, that's devoid of money, that is loving, that is sort of a community. And I think what this movie is, and I think the reason why he turned so cruel so quick is because I don't think he ever intended. I mean, he says in the beginning, the bathtub is going to be yours someday. Kind of like Simba and Mufasa. Like the
Yeah.
dry lands, whatever. And so essentially, I don't think Wink ever intended for Hush Puppy to leave the bathtub and enter the real world. But I think once he got sick, and because the first act, everybody's talking about the storm that's coming.
Yeah.
Once he realizes that he's dying, and this storm floods his land again, his island. I think
Hmm.
that's when he has to be cruel because he doesn't have a lot of time, and he has a lot of time to make up for because he was such a like loving, carefree father for all the time before that. You know, that's
I
my
agree.
that yeah. So how does that change the nature of the story at all for you?
It does because I did notice that he was very nice at first, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden he's walking down the the grass or whatever, and she's trying to catch up with him, and he has like a hospital band on. He's wearing a gown or hospital gown,
Yeah,
and he's just like, didn't they say he was gone for a while?
yeah.
Because I
Well, we
think
don't
he
know how
went
long
to
he
an
was gone
actual
for.
hospital, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I guess I guess with the storm and him finding out that he's gonna die, I think yeah, both of those things really woke him up and said, "Oh my God, like not only this is gonna happen, but his daughter is gonna be caught up in it too." So
Hmm.
he has to like train her to be ready for it. So yeah, I guess that it makes sense now that that's why he was cruel to her. Instead of like being cruel to her to engage in the real world, he's being cruel to her to have her become a responsible person and controlling like a kingdom, I guess you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, you know, the final shot of the movie, what it represents is the hush puppy, the princess, the queen, the new queen of the bathtub, and all her people. She's leading her people out of the kingdom and into the real world with her. You know, and I think to me, she is leading them. She is this little 5-year-old girl leading this whole troop of adults and other kids who are all older than her, I think. And she's going to enter the real world and face it, because I mean, Hush Puppy's gone through some shit, man. Like tough. Like she's had a for a 5-year-old, she's already kind of lost it all. Her mother leaves her when she's little. Who knows what happens to her? And her dad dies. And yeah, I don't know about you, Dom. Like I fully understand that at the end of the movie, but the movie never feels sad at the end. It doesn't feel like a Lars von Trier. Like I told you, like Lars von Trier movies make you feel like, hopeless and like you want to fucking die. This movie shows a little girl becoming an orphan, but you don't feel it. You don't feel like she's doomed. You don't feel like she's alone in this world, or at least not for me. How did you feel at the end, and how it handled that? Like, did you feel sad? Like, or what kind of sad did you feel?
It was a weird type of sad. It was like sad when the father died, but then after that, I think she, at the end of the very end of the film, I think she has overcome everything, especially her father's death right after, and realized she'd been through a lot, and there's a reason for it, and now she's here, and she has to be the leader. And I think she, by the end, she's confident, and she has reached her end of the journey. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, she it definitely felt like one of those like epic endings. Like the music was very
Oh yeah.
high. Like it
Hmm.
was up there, and it was like we did it type of thing, and that's what it felt like at the very
Yeah.
end. And then you have her, of course, standing right next to the river, and she's looking at the camera and stuff. And yeah, it definitely felt
Yeah.
like the ending was, I guess, a satisfying ending when it comes to her character. Obviously, the sad part was her dad died, but I think after that, she I think she's has grown into a responsible person, and she's ready to face the cruel world ahead of her.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what did you make of Hush Puppy's journey? And before you answer that, I'm gonna go grab a beer. So give me 2 minutes, and then when I get back, we'll go on and talk about that. Oh shit!
Yeah, and
Oh,
I'll put the
close
screen,
call.
and then we'll play the music, right? Good. Okay, he's good. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. While Dom is away, I'm going to go ahead and take this moment to give me a second here. I want to go ahead here and talk about my good friend Nathan Vega's website called luxmorebroadcast.com. It is a hub for all of Nathan's music, all his videos, all his short film, and also a site to fund his next film, Killing Charlene. He's told me about the movie, and it sounds really cool, really original, very darkly comedic, and I recommend you guys watch his first movie, The Last Chance at the Sundance Hotel, which is available on YouTube. Because it got into a, I believe at least one film festival, and it is a very unique, very funny, very entertaining short film about a haunted video camera, and well, it gets really wacky from there on out. But it's a really cool little short movie. Go check that out. Go check out luxmorebroadcast.com. Be sure to also check out at Filthy Luxmore on Instagram. And if you would like to contact Nathan after you check out some of his work, and see and collaborate with him on anything, or hire him to shoot a video, feel free to email him at Luxmore Broadcast. That's LUXMORE broadcast at gmail.com, to contact him about his about pretty much anything, especially projects that you would like his style on. What's up, Dom? I'm plugging my homeboy shit right here real quick. Um, he is selling some media to help support the funding of his next film, and that includes 3 pages of the script that will also serve as a producer credit, or I'm sorry, and producer credits at a certain funding level, along with an 8-layer stencil and some really badass looking posters. Again, that is luxmorebroadcast.com. That's LUXMORE BROADCAST.com. Be sure to check out the site. Support my homeboy Nathan because he's crazy talented, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. So make sure to be a part of it. Dom, now that you're back, let's go ahead and talk some more about Beast of the Southern Wild. So yeah, Dom, what exactly did you think of Hush Puppy's journey in the film?
It's definitely would you call it a hero's journey? Hero's journey,
Hero's
hero
journey, yeah.
journey, type of thing. Yeah, it's definitely falls like you see the character going through like different obstacles, and they're learning, growing, and like I think it's like coming of age type of thing. Um, in it as well, the way I see it, I guess, with her character. And um yeah, it was like there's certain things that happen with her, and especially her relationship with her father. Like there's, like you said, the throwing the stuff. It seemed playful.
Yeah.
Do you see it as playful? Like when they're
Yeah.
at first, right after she
Yeah, no.
pours the
Yeah, yeah.
thing on his
I thought, yeah, I'm sorry. You're breaking up a
face,
little bit.
the roaches and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sorry. You're breaking up a little bit,
then they
Dom.
started throwing stuff around. They're angry at first, and then all of a sudden become a little playful at the end. Towards the end of the pillow fight,
Mhm.
or the throwing stuff around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was a
Oh, you're
very
breaking up.
no, no, yeah, it's cool. I think we're caught up a little bit. Is there a lag? I think there might be a big lag.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think there was a big lag here though. Hold on, I'm gonna refresh, see if that does anything.
Yeah. Okay. Because sometimes like, you'll see me move like one place to the other, like oh, like it's not like natural. I got you.
Okay. What were you saying, man? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying like lag is like you can see me moving from one side to the other very like unnaturally. So yeah, it's lag.
Okay, yeah, it's better
But
now.
I think it's fixed now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good now. So yeah, to what you were saying, yeah, I definitely, I thought that was a very like emotionally wrought scene because it starts off with there's rain coming down and Hush Puppy is like this is the scene where Hush Puppy acknowledges that she knows her father is going to die, and it starts off very heavy and very sad, but then yeah, it gets very playful and all that, but just as it starts to get really fun, the father collapses, and that's when the movie starts to really bring that plot point home, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely it does pull your strings a little bit. I can tell like some scenes like when the father does have those I guess heart attack, but like those like pains that
Yeah,
he feels. So he rests and stuff after like some playful thing, or maybe it's they're talking and all of a sudden he's like, oh, and he falls down, or he just lays down.
yeah,
In certain scenes, so it definitely pulls on your heartstrings a little bit, and so it's like, oh yeah, he's dying, uh,
yeah,
and probably won't survive.
yeah, yeah, and unfortunately he doesn't, but this movie to me is sort of like a funnel. Like the movie kind of starts off and you don't really know where it's going until the movie centers in on the father dying. And at that point, the movie starts to really come into focus because we get that scene where they break onto the mainland and they're in that shelter. And one thing that I really liked is that all these people they don't understand them. They don't understand the people at the bathtub. They're too wild for them. We see that shot where Hush Puppy is dressed in a blue shirt, her hair's tied back, but she's being yelled at by the teacher, and then you see all her friends running around going crazy. What did um what did you make of that scene? Did you think it was funny? You think it was sad, or how did that work for you?
It was a mix of both. It was like funny, and it was also like kind of sad because it's like those people are part of society.
Uh huh.
Not the characters, the doctors and everything. They're part of society,
Yeah.
and so they think the people that they're dealing with is part of society, but they're not. They're part of a different type of society, a different place, a kingdom. So they don't know exactly the rules or the type of mannerisms or the type of interactions, I guess you can
Right.
say,
Yeah.
towards regular people
Yeah.
in our regular society. So definitely sad, funny sometimes, but yeah, sad most of all. Most of all, sad because it's like, oh, these people are either kind of lost in this world of fiction where they're at, and they don't
Yeah.
understand the real world.
But that breakout scene is, if for as dark as it is pretty funny. You know,
Yeah,
like you were saying earlier,
the guy
this
comes
movie.
out with the sign, he's like, trying to get their attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny.
yeah. No, and also like my favorite little side character in the movie is that sharp dressed old black guy. Dude's always in a suit and a hat, even when he's like swimming next to an alligator carcass, and he just has like a really chill way of talking. He's always real mellow. I dropped the trigger. I'm sorry. That guy cracks me up, man. Mm. But
That's
but
true
yeah,
though.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying it's true that like he does have a very calm personality to him. Like he's definitely like chill for some
Yeah,
reason. Like even in the most dire situations, like he's just chill.
definitely. Yeah. So kind of one thing that I really want to talk about as far as Hush Puppy's journey here is that it's a very metaphorical journey. She kind of lives in this fairy tale where the only kind of real structure is Miss Bathsheba, her teacher, and her teacher tells her about the Aurochs, which are like these ancient monsters that throughout the movie we kind of see racing towards Hush Puppy. So what did you get? What did you think the Aurochs represented in the story?
I first I thought it was like they weren't real. They were just a metaphor
Hmm.
to her and her friends because
Yeah.
there's certain scenes like side by side. I think they did a side by side shot where those big boars are like running,
Hmm.
and then you show the kids running. So I thought it was a metaphor to the kids, and though they're the big boars, whatever they're called. And so
Oh yeah.
that's why I took away from it. Then all of a sudden they come in the shot with the kids, and then the kids start running, and I
Yeah.
was like, wait, they're real. And so
Yeah.
they come towards Hush Puppy, and she's not afraid. She's just like, hey, cool and all that stuff. So are they real or they're not? Is she just facing
I
her demons?
I think it's ambiguous. To me, yeah, I think in an almost very literal sense they represent climate change. I think that's one of the
Mhm.
themes of this movie. Like they are living
Yeah.
on top of Katrina, which would have never happened if global warming didn't exist. And also, yeah, they're products of melting ice caps, and you know, one of the things that we get from Hush Puppy's voiceover is that she understands the world is ending. Like she knows that the
Yeah.
world is ending and she's ready for the end of the world. But she keeps talking about how, in the future, scientists are going to know there was a hush puppy if she lived in her with her daddy in the bathtub. So she's aware that the world is ending, and I think both literally she knows the world is ending, and metaphorically she knows her dad is dying, and sort of the way that act 3 plays out is it's actually it's weird. Act 3 is surprisingly loose, by the way, which is one thing that always kind of strikes me about this movie, because we see them escape. They bring Wink back to the bathtub to die, essentially, but before he dies, we see that scene where Hush Puppy takes all her little friends out to this light out in the middle of the ocean that she kind of considers her mother. That's where she thinks her mother is. And then we have that when then we find out it's a whorehouse out in international waters. And Lindsay for a minute thought this was going to take a really fucked up dark turn here, but fortunately,
Mhm.
it's just more of a little um, kind of a very nice little side story where, well, I guess the question is this: do you think that woman was really Hush Puppy's mother?
Maybe. It's probably I thought, yeah, no, I don't know, honestly. Maybe it is. Maybe because definitely they didn't realize they didn't recognize, well,
Oh, it's all good.
they she didn't recognize her.
Mm-hmm.
Not Hush, but what? I think they both didn't recognize each other, right? Because they talk to each other, right?
Yeah, they do
And
talk
she
to each
doesn't
other.
recognize. Yeah, I
Oh,
think Posh probably doesn't recognize her. So, or maybe she did think that was her mother,
mm-hmm.
and it's probably not. Maybe it is. Maybe she is her mother. Maybe she's not. It's like it's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Maybe it's up to question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think that's her mother. I think that's a random person, but I think that person she is I think she also abandoned a child. I think she also abandoned a child. And so when
I
she
think.
sees Hush Puppy, when she sees Hush Puppy, I think
Yeah.
that reminded her of her daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
Hush Puppy reminded her of her mother. So maybe
Yeah.
it's just
Mutually.
a recognize. Yeah. So I don't think that's her mother, her actual mother. I think that's someone random,
Mm-hmm.
but she looks at her as a mother, whereas she looks at her as her daughter, and so that's
Right.
how the way I see it.
No, no, I get those vibes too. Another interesting detail about that scene is that all it's a whorehouse. Let's be real here. All the women here are whores. Um, and I don't know much about whoring. I'm not a pimp, nor am I a whore, but I will get the feeling that if you're a whore, you've abandoned a baby or two. I'm just saying, I get that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because like in the scene, when you watch in the background, it's not just Hush Puppy's mother, literal or not. It's all the women. It's all the women there. They're all dancing with girls, and all these girls have this like loving look in their eyes, like them too. They too are getting that same sort of maternal love that they're clearly lacking, and they all are. They're all sort of orphans in this movie, and yeah, I think that's a really heartbreaking scene because that's in a lot of ways that's Hush Puppy's last her last shot. That's her reaching out for the last time. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Lindsay said Hush Puppy and that lady were trauma bonding. And yeah, they were definitely trauma bonding for sure. They were clearly feeling a hole in each other's heart. And yeah, like one thing one like it's really heartbreaking because that's sort of Hush Puppy's like last ditch effort to have some sort of parental guidance and love, but she doesn't get that, but she gets the next best thing, which is she learns how to cook a motherfucking alligator in a really good way. You know,
Mhm.
so so despite her not getting the mother she wants, she did get what she needed from something that was close enough. And again, I think that's something that a lot of people who grew up poor or lower middle class or like right on the line, I think that's something that we all kind of understand, is that we're not always going to have um those exact figures, literal figures in our lives. We're not going to have I know for me, I didn't have any grandparents for the vast majority of my childhood. I didn't really have any contact with any of my grandparents. But the next best thing was my next door neighbor was a nice old white lady who treated me and my brothers like we were her grandkids, and my mom's little friend, a little old lady a few doors down, who also treated us like we were her grandkids. And much like Hush Puppy, like I knew this wasn't literal. I knew that she wasn't literally my grandma, but she took me. But Sandra took me to go see Shrek, and Doña Maria made us some delicious homemade tortillas a lot. So like you got what you could from people who fulfilled those roles, whether they knew it or not. The best that you can take from it, and I think that's why. It is a bit of a detour. Like I said, it's a very meandering third act, at least early on, because we do kind of uh, go to that scene, and it does kind of feel out of nowhere. But it also has my favorite little uh, line in the movie where Hush Puppy is talking to the guy on the boat who is driving them out to that whorehouse. It feels weird saying that, but he's taking them out there, and he has all these wrappers of like his favorite like chicken sandwich up and all that, and he says, "Every day I eat this. It's how I feel cohesive." And little Hush Puppy is just like, "I want to be cohesive." And every time I hear that, dude, not only does my heart melt, but I'm like, kid, I think we all want to be cohesive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good interpretation of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
we to be seeing each other. They look for a parental figure or a figure in their life that is not literal, but a recognizable type of figure that will
Right.
can replace those types of figures in their life that they don't have. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, so after we get that scene, we get the big scene, the big, the Wink dies, and I know you didn't cry, and I didn't cry as hard this time as I did the first like 10 times I saw it, but it did get to me. So yeah, man, what did you make of that scene? What did you make of it?
It was like I said, yeah, it was a sad scene. I can tell, right? I can tell it's a sad scene. I recognize like, oh yeah, this is tough. This is terrible, but I I don't shed a tear. I don't cry because at the end of the day, I look at it as fiction. I look at it as as a movie,
Yeah.
but it's still like sad. Yeah, it's still like an all moment. I said, oh, that sucks. They're both crying. This even though they said don't cry, and then they both cry, and that's the
Yep.
first time you see him shed tears in the movie, and you can tell
Yep.
he's not, he has feelings, as much as everyone else. So even though
Hmm.
he doesn't want to cry, you can't help it. He can't help it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
No,
yeah.
man. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, that's my take on it. Just yeah.
Yeah. You know, kind of as a little bit of a detour here. Um, this, I have two nieces and I have two nephews, and you follow me on Facebook, so you know that I love those. Oh, that Dom disappeared. I'll wait for him to get back here. Let me see. Um, but yeah, I guess while Dom comes back, I'll just go ahead and tell you guys. I am the uncle of two nieces and two nephews, and they're amazing, and I love those kids with all my heart. Here we go. Here's Dom. Before it shit got too mushy in here. Yeah, there
Okay.
you
I
go.
was like,
Is that
wait, what
Chucky?
happened? Oh yeah, this is Chucky. Yeah. Let's see.
That's sick, bro.
I think I disconnected my camera and everything when I was trying to get this. The reason
Oh,
why I
okay.
got this is because to show like we're family friendly, and we're all want to be happy. So I just wanted to show this Chucky doll, and also his bride as
His
well.
bride,
Uh, Tiffany, she is
Jeff and
her hair is a
Jennifer.
little
Oh
messed
yeah, yeah,
up.
Tiffany. Yeah.
See, now that's the work of a true homicidal genius.
So yeah, it's
I love you,
That's
Chucky.
so
Jennifer
yeah,
Tilly,
this is
dude.
cool.
That's Jennifer
Yeah,
Tilly's voice.
but yeah, man, it's
well,
cool.
well,
That's why I
y-
want to show them just to show.
yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah, that's cool, dude. No, but what I was saying is, I got two nieces, I got two nephews, and one thing, that this movie really affected me in my personal life is that, you know, I don't call my nieces hey man or hey boss, nothing like that. No, they're very girly. They're very girly girls and stuff like that. But one thing that I do definitely from watching this movie is that I tell them to, like, punch my hands. I want to see how strong you are. Show me those muscles. Like I want to, like, and they
Mhm,
put their muscles up. They don't fuck. They're kids. They don't fucking know. They don't know that that's like a
mhm,
boy thing or nothing. And I'm glad because, um, like this movie, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies that really affected me. And so, and one way that I could really point to that this affected me was that, um I want my nieces to feel, well, I mean, I want all the kids to feel, but this is not something that you traditionally do with girls. You don't tell them to show them your muscles or nothing. But I want all the kids to feel as strong and as confident and as self-assured as Hush Puppy. I want them all to sort of like have that I can fucking take the world on, because, like, just like Hush Puppy, these kids are gonna, I don't like thinking about it, but these kids are gonna face some really tough times with climate change and stuff like that. So they're gonna need to be tough. And my brothers and their wives, they're doing a fantastic job of raising them for that world and all that. As an uncle, all I can do is just try and support that. And that's definitely one way that I try to do. I try to make them feel like strong. You're strong. Like you can be a pretty princess all day. You can play with dolls, but just remember that you're a strong young lady, and that's, I want that to it's I want them to know that I believe that as much as their parents do. So that's one way this movie really affected me. But sort of getting back to what I was saying is that that scene with Wink and her dad, again, dude, like I see so much of my own father in that moment, because yeah, my dad, like Wink, like he's a tough, he was never as bad as Wink or anything like that, but he was tough. He was a tough love kind of guy. And the older you get, the more you appreciate what they were doing. They weren't
mhm,
just like doing it to be mean. They were trying to, get you just like Wink, trying to get you ready for the world that's coming. And so
Right.
to me, yeah, so to me, like when that scene happens, when like when he's saying don't cry while there's like tears running down his own face, like that to me, like that's my dad right there. He was a guy who is a human being, just like you and I, who was dealing with a lot of shit just like you and I do, but who had to like tell me you gotta fucking be strong, kid. You gotta do it. While he was going through his own struggles, and I think and I think that's another reason again why so many people. I'm not saying I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not crying. I'm sure this movie, like you said, affected you, but that's one thing that to me that I think that's why I think that's this movie is so universe with so many people that I show it to tend to love it, and it's so universally liked amongst the people that I share this movie with. It is that like in all this metaphor and this fairy tale, it's just like the most universal story that it could be, and that's what I think it makes this story so profoundly moving.
Yeah, I agree. I actually was talking to somebody yesterday over in Fresno. I went to a
Mm-hmm.
mixer,
Okay.
and he's an actor. Yeah, and we talked about we didn't talk about climate change, but we talked about gentrification.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about neighborhoods like Compton, Watts, how it used to be a suburban type of neighborhood, and then housing prices went down, become very cheap or something like that, or maybe they were
My
high. I'm not too sure,
I
but
was born in
a
Compton,
lot
bro.
of them. You were?
Yeah, yeah. I live
Or,
there, and I have family out there. Dude, I remember. In fact, I don't want to distract you or nothing, but dude, no fucking lie. One year we were visiting my cousin and my auntie and my uncle, and it was a Christmas, dude. It was a Christmas fucking night. Okay, we finished opening our gifts, and we're Mexican, so we stay up till midnight and open our gifts on Christmas Eve midnight. And so we opened our gifts and all that. We played with them for a few hours, and my family was asleep in the living room on their pull-out beds and on the couches. And all of a sudden, there was a fucking drive-by shooting across the street. Straight up drive-by shooting. Like we all
Jesus.
wake up, we're all freaking out, and then like my cousin like literally like walks by and he's like everybody just don't raise your head. Everybody just keep your fucking head down and shit. Like luckily it was across the street, but it was facing away from us. They weren't shooting at my cousin's house, thankfully. But no, dude, they're not fucking around. Compton is wild. Compton, I got in the
Yeah.
fucking fight. I got in the fist fight in Compton, dude. It's they don't fuck around over there, straight up.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, the reason we were talking about it is because we were in Fresno,
Mm-hmm.
and there the neighborhoods. If you're on the south side, it's very,
Oh
shitty. It's
yeah.
very messed up. And then we're talking about the north side, how it's very rich, it's very, up there,
Gentrified. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we talked about how the reason why that the South Side was just like the North Side, because he was from Fresno. He used to go to McLean, and so he was in the South, and everything was like suburban. It was a bunch of white kids. It was a bunch of it was a very typical American dream, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it turned into a shit show, and because all the housing prices went down, a lot of rich people, they moved up north, and that's where and then all those houses are old and stuff like that, and that's why like a lot of people, like poor people, will come in and they'll stay in those places, and then there will be a lot of like drive-bys, or like just like stuff you see in places like Compton, Watts, and stuff like that. It's just the way it's like climate change, but like in like neighborhoods. It's
Mm-hmm.
like instead of the weather, it's the housings, and like
Yeah.
the way everything changes and stuff like that. And I think that's what also in this movie, it's like the in New Orleans or some part. I think it's right next to New Orleans, right? The
Mm-hmm. Right
kingdom.
outside of it. Yeah.
So I feel like that's what it is. I think a lot of those people also moved out of New Orleans, and
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's because they were they got caught up in New Orleans with the hurricane, and then when everything tore down, and then they were in the what you call it, the bathtub. Then they're like they didn't want to go back to that world. They didn't want to go back to that neighborhood environment, so they went and
Yeah.
created their own community, in their own neighborhood, in their
Hmm.
own place. And I think that's also another thing that I think the people decided to stay because they didn't want to go back to that type of environment that I think New Orleans had. And I'm pretty sure they still have it.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Like
for
any other.
sure. Oh, what were we saying? What was the last
No,
part?
like I was just saying, my last thing I was saying was like any other city, like
Oh
Fresno
yeah. Yeah.
or Compton and stuff. Like people just they don't want to stay there. They want to move out. And when these people got the opportunity to go back, they're like, nah,
Yeah,
like
they
this
stayed.
is great because this is a fun community. This is a great community, and we don't have currency, we don't have drugs, we don't have all guns and all this. We don't need that because we're very, you know,
We cool.
nice and cool. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
the guy with the hat in the suit, forgot his name, but that's why
I
he's
forgot
always
his name
cool.
too.
In the
Yeah.
darkest situations, he's like,
That guy is
"Yep,
cool,
this is
man. He's
how
always chill.
it is.
He don't give a goddamn.
Chill. Goddamn, this is a very this is a bad situation, but I still need to keep my cool."
No, dude. I lived in Fresno total of like 5 years of my life. I have some stories about Fresno, but this is podcasting about Fresno. So yeah, sort of back to the beast of the Southern Wild, and I think you're ready to sort of wrap this conversation up a little bit.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
do
wrap it
like
up
a
a little bit.
summary, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go. You go ahead and go first.
Yeah, so in summary, yeah, this movie, it's definitely a roller coaster ride when it comes to up and downs. There are funny parts, there are sad parts, there's dramatic parts. There's just a lot of like roller coaster rides, up and downs, different types of feels in certain situations. Of course, the film has the same type of lighting, the same type of tone to it, but then again, like I said, roller coaster ride
Hmm.
within it. And the whole concept of separate society besides from main society, I think it's pretty interesting, especially since like climate change has affected that type of environment in a way where people they don't want to go to the main environment. They want to separate themselves from other
Hmm.
people,
Yeah,
and I think stuff like climate change gives them a chance to do that. And I think that's a good way to summarize this. It's a good telling of
it's a climate change fairy tale.
yeah, climate change fairy tale, and a bunch of boars come out of the glaciers and come and invade the New Orleans or the United States. Imagine
Yeah,
having the. I would love to see those types of boars in Jurassic World Dominion or something like that would be cool, right? If
drink,
you see,
drink.
oh yeah yeah yeah, where's my drink? Oh,
Get your drink, dude.
I'm gonna get my drink. Hold on, I'll be right back.
He did it. He said it. I can't say it again, or else it's more of a drink. Told y'all. Told y'all. We need to make this a fucking thing, dude.
I just
Okay.
need to get my drink. It's
Go get your drink,
cold. It's
dude.
refrigerated.
Go get
I'm
your
gonna get
drink.
it. I'll get it. Okay.
Meanwhile, so Beast of the Southern Wild is a dope fucking movie, right? Lindsay, I know you're watching. I thank you for watching it with me. It's always a pleasure to watch movies with you. Oh yeah, speaking of Fresno, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff. But hi. So to anyone else who may be watching now or in the future, hello to you too. And thanks for listening to our show. Despite our little setback, it's a lot of fun to do this. Dom's a cool guy. I think I'm all right. And he came back with his drink. Drink. Oh, he's going for it. Oh, there you go. uh yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on the movie. Like I said a few times, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. There's never This movie has never lost its power. It's never lost its magic. To this day, the opening scene of the movie gets me so fucking pumped, and the finals, and then when Wink dies, I still cry, dude. And then at the end, when we see little Hush Puppy marching her kingdom into the new world, I'm like, girl, you go do it. You got this. You got the whole world in your hands. All right, your daddy raised you right. You're gonna be okay. And it's like you said, it's a roller coaster of a fucking movie. Hopefully if you've been listening all along, you know what it's all about. And if you just sort of listening along and without it, I'm like, man, I feel bad for you, because this movie really is a little magic trick of a movie. It shouldn't work, in my opinion. Like, movies that just happen to become magical, brilliant movies out of nowhere, it's not fair. But I'm glad they exist, and I'm glad this movie exists especially. um, and yeah, like I said, dude, one of my all-time favorites. Thank you for watching it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Hey man,
And
I'm glad I watched it again because
yeah,
I was gonna miss out on something great, and I'm glad you persuaded me, and I'm glad I watched it. it's,
yeah,
it's it's a great movie.
yeah. And sort of to kind of get us back onto our regular schedule, despite me picking the top three list this week, I'm also picking the movie next week, which is going to be VHS 1994. Dom, by the way, I've already seen it. It's dope. Dom, you're gonna love it. But Dom, what's gonna be our top three next week?
So our top three next week. Oh man, I think you're gonna love this.
Okay.
Maybe you won't. I don't know. Um, our top three next week is top three death scenes.
Oh, okay. That's gonna be tough because we're gonna be
It could
spoiling some
be it can
shit.
be from any genre. It could be comedy. It could be horror. It could be thriller. Like it
Okay.
could be from scary movie. The scary movies. Like Scary One, Two. Like they had
Okay.
death scenes, but they're fucking
Fuck.
ridiculous.
Okay. That's gonna be a tricky list to do, but I'm excited. Definitely. All
Okay.
right, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, cool list. All right. See y'all next week.
Wait. Hold on. Chucky's
Oh,
trying to
wait.
sell me something. Oh, okay. He wants to
Oh,
say something.
what's up,
All right.
Chucky?
All right. What do you want to say? Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. What do you guys say?
I don't have a problem with killing. I like a little killing now and then. What's wrong with that?
All right, Chucky. This has nothing to do with killing. All right. This is a dramatized film with love, with comedy, and sadness. What do you guys say? Right, Chucky, aka Tiffany. Okay, she wants to say something too, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, ready?
Let's do
Okay,
it.
okay, ready. Is it?
See, now that's the work of a true homicidal genius.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. You guys did great. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and thank you guys for watching this episode.
Peace
Chucky,
out.
Tiffany, take care, and Awado, we'll see each other next time.
See
Next
each other
week,
next time.
VHS 1994. We're gonna watch an anthology of freaking movie, and it's gonna be on Shudder, which I logged in and I have. So
Yeah,
let's do
get
it.
Shutter. It rules.
Yeah, it's like Netflix for horror. That's what they all say.
Fuck yeah, hit us
Oh.
up, Shutter. We need the money.
Jurassic World, Jurassic Park.
There you go. We need to talk about that after the show because we're going to talk about that movie, homeboy.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and end the stream. And thank
All
you all for
right.
watching.
Thank you all for watching along. Hi, Lindsay. Bye, Lindsay.